Thanks for staying with us. Now, the Apex Court, which is the Supreme Court, has adjourned its judgment indefinitely in the Edo State governorship appeal, where Senator Monday Okpebolo, representing the APC, was declared winner. After hearing arguments from both sides, the justices did not set a date and said they would notify the parties later. Edo Gov'ship, the PDP candidate, challenged the election result, claiming he secured the majority of lawful votes and asked the court to invalidate Okpebolo's victory. He was represented by Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Ken Mosia. Meanwhile, INEC, led by Kanu Agabi, urged the court to dismiss the case entirely. They argued that the PDP's petition was contradictory, labeling the election unlawful, yet seeking its victory, and thus lacked merit. Our guest this morning is Bugie Okwemoy, a special advisor on media and publicity to the Edo State Governor. Good morning and welcome to the program, Bugie.
Good morning. Thank you for having me again.
Great. Edo no be Lagos. Anytime I'm thinking about Edo, I think about that phrase. Unfortunately, it didn't come from your administration, but it seems as if they are a strong people. Okay. But right now, there is this let me call it distraction, where you have cases in the court, and now, even though it has been adjourned, I'm sure it's going to have some impact on governance and everything and all that. But give us the situation. What is the situation right now in view of the fact that there's still this case in the Supreme Court, and the PDP is still bent on having this mandate taken away from the APC? What's the situation in Edo right now?
Thank you. Like we've said severally, and like I've said every time I've had an opportunity to address this issue on the media, there's no distraction to the government of Senator Monday Okpebolo. There's no distraction to the governor himself. And that's largely because of two reasons. Firstly, the elections of September 20th, 2024 were very free, were very fair, were a true reflection of the will of Edo people in that election. So there's no, but very confident. And secondly, I will follow the case of the PDP from the tribunal to the appeal court and to what they presented at the Supreme Court. It's very glaring that they have no case. They are chasing shadows. They are chasing what cannot be caught. Not because they don't have the ability to catch it, but because there's nothing to even chase in the first place. So there's no distraction at all. The last 7 months, Governor Okpebolo has been fully focused on governance, delivering what we call practical governance, governance that is people-centered, governance that connects with the people, governance that is meeting the needs of the people today, and the records that are on ground for the past 7 months have just been nothing short of amazing compared to what they usually are used to when new governments come in. So there's no distraction at all. We're very focused. Law issues will be handled by lawyers. So Governor Okpebolo obviously will not be in court arguing his case or trying to defend his mandate. The lawyers are doing that, and he's focused on his work. And we trust the capacity and the capability of our lawyers to argue a case that would give justice to Edo people, which is affirming the will that they expressed in that election that Governor Okpebolo has governed. So no distractions at all. Work is going on. We're all focused on delivering on the promises that the governor made to Edo people.
I think with the arguments on both sides, according to the report that I just read now before, as introduction to this discussion, on the one hand, the PDP is saying that they won with the most lawful votes. The argument from the APC is that PDP had already said that the election was not free and fair, so they have no right or moral standing to argue their case at all in the first place. So, but it doesn't say that these votes that they are talking about were false and all that. So I just want to get more enlightenment on that. Are you arguing your case based on the fact that PDP had already condemned the election, or you are sure that what they're talking about, lawful votes, can never amount to anything?
Okay, so the position of the law is that he who asserts must prove. If you accuse somebody of wrongdoing, the responsibility is on you to prove that the person did wrong. The responsibility is not on the person to prove his innocence. So, of course, our legal direction will be to listen to what their arguments are and then provide defense where it's necessary. So, part of, like you have established, part of what, in fact, the whole substance of their appeal is founded on non-compliance, which one would expect will lead to you saying, since there was no appropriate compliance by law, the election should be cancelled or the election should be. But on one hand, you are claiming non-compliance, and on the other hand, you are asking that you be declared winner. How do you ask that you be declared winner of an election you are saying was not valid? Are you saying you should be, I mean, you should benefit from what you call an illegality? And that was the point that the appeal court established, that you cannot be saying an election was not valid and at the same time you are asking for some relief from what you claim was not valid. Just to throw a little more light, their arguments or the case they took to the Supreme Court border in a number of issues. Of course, like they argued, of course, part of what they're taking to the Supreme Court is the argument against the decision of the appeal court that you cannot be claiming, that an election is being valid and at the same time asking that something be given to you from there. What they are saying when they went to the Supreme Court is that they are not saying there was a problem in the whole elections. They are just saying that there was a problem in some units, and as such, those units should be cancelled. And they cite the Hope Uzodinma case. They also disagree with the position of the appeal court that one of the arguments was that the non-serialization of electoral material did not amounted to non-compliance. And of course, the appeal court in its judgment stated that that did not apply to non-compliance. Of course, our lawyers were able to show that that assertion was wrong. They also faulted the judgment of the tribunal and the appeal court that they didn't call oral evidence to back up their documents. Their argument is that when a document speaks for itself, there's no need for oral evidence, and that their witnesses in the statements that they provided described and demonstrated how the non-compliance was done. They also complained about the EC25 form, which is the polling unit result. They claimed that INEC did not provide any copy to contradict the one that they provided. And of course, our lawyers on the side of the governor and on the side of APC has responded in several ways. They didn't argue, our lawyers, of course, led by HEP as well have said, they didn't argue their case properly. What they just did was general assertions. Like I always say when I have an opportunity to engage on the subject. In that election, over 295,000 people voted for Governor Monday Okpebholo to be their governor. If you are asking that result be overturned and you be declared winner, what you are saying is that the will of the people expressed in that election should be overturned because of you or for whatever reasons you are given. That's a very, very serious demand you are asking for. This is the law is about the people. If you are saying that should be done, you must prove your case very effectively. You cannot just make general assertions without proof, without convincing the court to a very, very large degree that illegal things happen. And they didn't do that at the tribunal, they didn't do that at the appeal court. Our lawyers also faulted the argument where they tried to lay a foundation of Section 51 to seek for deduction of votes. And our lawyer said that section did not dwell on nullification of elections on ground of voting. When they make reference to the use of Uzodinma case, our lawyers expressed straightly that the Uzodinma case was not a case that had to do with removal or deduction of votes. What the court did in that situation was just the votes that had been taken away, in the manner the court determined wasn't right, was returned. So the two cases, the ingredients are not the same. On the issue of, they also argue about the issue of prior recording of sensitive materials for the conduct of the elections. And our lawyer stated that they didn't plead from EC25D, which contains the quantity of materials that were returned, as remarks. Rather, it was our own it was all the respondents who during cross-examination, drew the attention to EC40A, which showed that the forms were duly filled and duly signed contrary to their claims. Our lawyers also talked about, the governor's lawyer also made reference to their inability to call witnesses to give oral evidence to their claim of non-compliance. It's not enough to tender documents without bringing in the human angle to talk to those documents. They tendered beavers machines that had no records. It wasn't operated, nothing was done. And interestingly, in the appeal court at the tribunal, the beavers machines were admitted, as evidence in the tribunal's judgment. But at the appeal court level, Beavers machines, that admissibility of the Beavers machines were expunged from the records because the appeal court held that though the machine is a document recognized by law, there must be evidence of how it was operated, what it does, how records were generated from it, and that has to be done by an individual. There has to be oral testimony of an individual on how those machines were operated, how the evidence was brought out, and all of that. And not none of that was done. The court also held that the PDP were not the ones who were supposed to have tendered the machines. It was supposed to have been. So even if the results from those machines, were relevant to the case, it had no probative value because they were identified by a person who couldn't be trusted. It's important. The cross-examination element in an argument is very important. Which also brings us to the issue of witnesses. You complain of issues in about 756 polling units. Out of 756, you called only 19. Out of that 19, only 5 were polling unit agents. These are the people who are supposed to come to explain to the court how this non-compliance was done. And then they should be subjected to cross-examination, to ascertain, the authenticity and the integrity of their submission. So these were some of the errors, and it was obvious that their case was, it was dead from the beginning, and we believe that the Supreme Court will give it the burial that it deserves. So that's some of the situation coming from the courts.
Politicians talk. I like the way politicians talk. We just came out from a court into a funeral at the end of it. It's really funny. But let me look at the opposition in Edo State. Your governor has been making some utterances, boasting that in the shortest possible time, everybody will become APC. Is that out of the confidence that he's a widely acceptable person, or the APC is a widely acceptable party, or he's afraid of the opposition? Because that's the general notion when people try to draw all opposition into their fold. It's as if it's either that or you're afraid that you might be toppled by the opposition. So what is the situation? What is his relationship with opposition? Are we also heading for a one-party system in Edo State, as people are afraid that the entire Nigeria might go to a one-party system at the national scene because of what has been happening, the defections and the lobbying and all the invitations and all that?
Maybe the first question which we will answer is there an opposition in Edo State? That's the first question. The PDP in Edo State has been involved with internal crisis, serious patronalization, and in that situation, it's almost impossible to present any credible or any solid opposition. So there's almost no very serious opposition. There are factions in the PDP, and the faction that government pays attention to, which they believe by law should be the ones they should pay attention to, interestingly has been a bit graceful and conciliatory. They play a different kind of opposition politics. They have given credit where they think credit should be given, and of course have provided constructive criticisms where it is necessary. So the governor appreciates them for that. That's the faction led by I think that's Ogieba. I think that's the surname. I'm not too sure. They seem to be playing a different kind of opposition that is people focused. Like Governor Pueblo has always said and has always asserted and has always stated, anybody who's playing politics and anybody who's in government should be in government because of the people. Governance is about the people. It's not about politics. It's not about, yes, during campaigns and during elections, we can all, go to our battle trenches on political basis. But once an election has been concluded and governance has been given birth to, the focus should be about the people. And that's what Governor Pueblo is focused about. So whenever you hear him make statements like, in the next election, the APC is going to have majority votes, or in the next election, we'll be able to give the president this number of votes, so in the next election, it is based on the fact that when the records are taken and the activities that the government has done that touch the lives of the people, it's a no-brainer that if the people believe a government has attended to their needs, has provided the things that they need, and has made life easy for them, when elections come, it's very easy to know the direction in which they will go, especially when it's a first-term government who will be seeking for a second term. it's very easy for the people to continue the mandate they have given to a governor who has performed very well and who has done very well. Like our people say, now as money be, now we go know as the table. And in the first 7 months, the things that they have seen across security, across healthcare, across infrastructural development, across natural resources and food security, agriculture, across education, empowerment, already tells them that in the next couple of years, life for the Edo residents will be a lot better. Life for the Edo residents will be a lot more comfortable, which is the purpose of government. And we believe that when that time comes, anybody who says he's truly interested in service to the people will agree that the government of Senator Monday Okpebholo has done extremely well and definitely will deserve some extra support. So is in his capacity, his boast is in his ability, his intentions, his commitment, his drive to ensure that life is better for Edo people. And we have an Edo that is better, than how we met it and, fulfills the dreams and aspirations of his residents. So that's why the governor talks like that, not because he has a focus on decimating the opposition. It's because anybody who's truly progressive minded, anybody who believes in serving the people will definitely join the train because they're going to see the evidence that he's been doing just that.
Well, 2027 is coming. The Constitution is being reviewed right now. There are some public hearings in the geopolitical zones. INEC also is trying to do some reform before the 2027. What are the critical things you would like to see in this reform, whether from INEC or from the Constitution, that you think will give the electoral system a better transparency, a better way of doing things and all that, so that these distractions, whether we like it or not, if a case is still in court, every once in a while, instead of thinking about another thing, you'll be thinking about how the case might go, no matter how confident you are. So I still think it's a distraction of some sort, maybe not a threat, but a distraction of some sort. Now, what are the things you would like to see amended in the Constitution or the INEC reforms that will give us a more credible election so that we don't have to go through this route anymore?
Yeah, I think you said it all. It may not be, I may not address specific areas, but generally a more acceptable improvement in INEC's processes, how we conduct elections, some of the issues we see that end up leading to these litigations you were talking about. I mean, it's about INEC's processes. The whole election process falls on the responsibility on the shoulders of INEC to conduct, and it's INEC's responsibility to deliver an electoral process that is seen to be credible, is seen to be transparent, is seen to be effective. Some of the issues we have with how the elections are conducted, INEC has to tighten up its processes so that at the end of the day, when the results of elections are declared, there's a greater public confidence, there's a greater public faith in whatever outcomes those elections provide. So for me, I just think on a general basis, on a larger scale, INEC's internal processes must be tightened, must be made more effective. Whatever innovations are necessary to be brought in should be brought in, just so that the people can be more confident in the results that INEC's processes deliver. Like you said, while I told you that, of course, we are not distracted by what's going on with the Supreme Court because we are confident, a better place would be that we didn't even have to be thinking about that. I mean, these cases take some personal resources. Of course, the governor funds his legal activities personally. It involves some distraction generally in the polity. And we wish we didn't have to deal with things like that. So INEC, although it's our culture, we also can't deny the fact that it's our culture, our political culture in this country that it's very difficult for a loser to accept the outcome of an election, But I think if the processes are better done, are more transparent, are more effective, because a lot of times we see that some of the issues that come up with elections relate to the processes, the logistics, late arrival of materials, challenges with transmission of results, the credibility of some players. Those are all INEC internal processes, and I think that is where INEC should really be focusing on as they go about these proposed reforms.
informed whether it's a threat or not and how you intend to handle it, but that's matter for another day. In fact, they're still, they just hatched, so let's give them some time to feather and see whether they can fly or it's just a bird that stays on the ground. Well, we'd like to thank you so much for your time this morning, and we wish you well in the administration of Edo, and we hope that at the end of the day, the people will be the better for it, and not just the people who are political appointees or the people who have been voted into power, but the people of Edo will actually see governance in action. At the end of the day, that's what every Nigerian craves. Thank you so much, Boogie, for coming on the show this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
Have a wonderful day. We've been talking with Boogie Okwemoy, Special Advisor on Media and Publicity to the Edo State Governor, and we're talking about the fact that the case is still in court about who is the authentic governor of Edo State. Is it the person who is there now, Monday Okpobilo, or the PDP governorship candidate who is still saying that he had all the most authentic votes of the election of 2023. Well, the coming days will tell us what that result will be, but anyway, we've not had a date for that pronouncement yet, but we are still looking at a later date to get that information. But this is where we draw the curtain on the show this morning. Thank you for your time this morning. Return tomorrow and join us again for breakfast on Plus TV Africa. My name is Nyam Gul Agaji. Bye for now.